Discover the incredible, heartwarming film that reveals unexpected life-changing transformations. In the heart of Sunflower Ridge, Sarah Jenkins lived a life stitched together by resilience and love. Every morning, she woke before dawn, the weight of her world heavy on her shoulders. With her husband gone, a casualty of war, she channeled every heartbeat into nurturing her two children, Amy and Ben. One morning, as she tucked them in during an early snowstorm, their soft breaths echoed her commitment she would make sure they never felt abandoned. Each day was a relentless struggle. At the diner, she wore a smile that masked her fatigue, pouring coffee to regulars who shared stories of days gone by. At night, she scrubbed floors in offices, her hands raw yet determined. But despite the weariness, Sarah held her head high. Those precious moments spent cooking dinner with Amy's exuberant chatter or Ben's quiet help were worth every ounce of energy, but cracks began to show in their small-town sanctuary. Miller's Corner, the beloved family-owned home goods store that served as the town's heart, faced a threat. A developer stood ready with glimmering promises of progress, enticing her neighbors with visions of shopping malls and fancy cafes. Where they saw hope, Sarah sensed looming shadows. Change came with a cost. She looked at the faces of her fellow townsfolk, eyes bright with dreams, and felt a pang of guilt. Could she let go of their home for something untested? "Mom, they say we can have jobs, a better future," Amy exclaimed one night, news of the developer dancing in her voice, unaware of the turmoil it stirred inside Sarah. Just like that, the echo of her daughter's ambitions created a fissure between them. The once unapologetic bond of their trio felt strained. As the town gathered for a community meeting, tensions flared like the biting winter winds outside. Voices grew heated, arguments spiraled, the clash of progress against tradition echoed through the room. Sarah felt the weight of her neighbors' expectations bearing down on her, all eyes turned her way, her heart racing with fear. She knew their struggles, understood hope and sacrifice, but could she let go of what made Sunflower Ridge feel like home? Just as Sarah gathered her thoughts for a courageous stand, a sudden revelation stunned the crowded room. The developer's true intentions unraveled like a forgotten family secret, anger bubbling over as the townsfolk processed the betrayal. Sarah's heart sank, knowing that with this truth, her daughter faced a difficult choice, the lure of progress or the loyalty to their roots. Yet just as despair seemed to seize her, an unexpected call shattered the silence. Their former neighbor now offered to help her revive Miller's Corner. It wasn't just a grocery store, it was a gathering place, a haven. The dream surged within her, awakening talents buried beneath layers of grief. But could she mend the rift with Amy, who yearned for a different path? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah felt a surge of urgency. There was too much at stake. As the meeting reached its climax, she realized she had a choice: pursue her own dreams and risk losing her daughter, or fight to preserve their town's spirit and their family bond. In the depths of that turmoil, one question emerged: could she balance love for her community with the love for her children, or had the hopes of her family and their town become irreversibly intertwined? Sarah stood at the head of the community meeting, her heart racing as she felt the weight of everyone's gaze. This was her moment, the crossroads where her family's future and her town's legacy hung in the balance. She looked at the faces around her neighbors she had known all her life, each one hoping for a better tomorrow, yet struggling to articulate their fears. Can we really trust them? She finally found the words, the questions tumbling into the anxious air. What do we gain from change, and what do we lose? The murmur of voices dimmed, and the room felt smaller. Sarah could feel the precariousness of her position, she could feel her daughter's eyes on her, a mix of hope and uncertainty that made her heart ache. An older gentleman named Joe, who had owned the local hardware store for over 30 years, stood up. "Change is inevitable, Sarah. but we can control how that change shapes our home." His voice, steady yet heavy with emotion, resonated with the crowd. "We can't ignore progress, but how should that progress define us?" A knot twisted in Sarah's stomach. It was a question that pricked at an unsettling truth. She had always fought to preserve tradition, clinging to what felt safe, but maybe she was missing something crucial. Could they embrace new opportunities without losing their essence? As she contemplated, the image of Miller's Corner danced in her mind, lights twinkling like a beacon of hope. As more voices chimed in, some siding with the nostalgia of their familiar lives, others yearning for a fresh start. Sarah sensed a fracture widening between herself and Amy. Her daughter had plans and dreams that felt both ambitious and frightening. The thought of losing Amy to the allure of change threatened to crush her spirit. Suddenly, she spotted Amy rising from her chair, a mix of determination and passion igniting her youthful face. "Mom, I know you want to protect us, but change can be good. Miller's Corner can be more than a store, it can grow into something we never imagined. Why can't we be part of that?" The collective gasp in the room echoed Sarah's own shock. The proud, resilient woman who fought for what had been at the diner and late-night cleaning shifts was now feeling that familiar pang of helplessness. Yet, beneath that tension was something deeper, a longing for connection with her daughter, a chance to align their visions without sacrificing their bond. "Little girl," Joe said gently, his voice a soothing balm amidst the storm, "it's okay to want more. It's okay to hope. But we need to do it together." Sarah recognized the truth in his words, a thread wrapping through her heart. She stepped forward, her resolve solidifying as she faced Amy. "Let us work together, then. Maybe we can merge our dreams. But we need to ensure that everything we build honors our past," she said, her voice trembling with intensity. The meeting shifted. Energy changed, morphing from uncertainty to a flicker of hope as people began to talk excitedly about what Miller's Corner could be: a gathering place, a bridge between tradition and innovation. But as discussion flourished, a shadow lingered in Sarah's heart. Would this path truly lead them closer, or would it pull them apart further than before? At home, later that night, while preparing their dinner, Sarah noticed Amy sketching plans for a new store in a tattered notebook. A stirring dread nestled in Sarah's chest. She was proud of her daughter's ambition, but was Amy ready to let go of the past? Could they really blend their dreams to create a future without losing themselves? The questions haunted her as she gazed at the cheerful sketches, her daughter's spirit alive on the page. The next morning, a knock on the door jolted her from her thoughts. As she opened it, a visitor stood there. The familiar face of a childhood friend, someone she hadn't seen in years, now holding a proposal that could change everything. "What do you think?" he asked, eyes glinting with possibility. "I want to partner with you to bring Miller's Corner back to life." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Did she dare embrace this offer and the unknown it presented? Would this decision shatter the fragile truce with Amy or open a door for both of their dreams? The weight of choice lingered in the air, the answer teetering just out of reach. The tension in Sarah's chest tightened as she stared at the familiar face in her doorway. Josh, her childhood friend, had always been a dreamer, a man of ideas that had no bounds. Seeing him again felt surreal. They had shared so many laughs in their youth, chasing fireflies and discussing wild plans that faded into adulthood. Now, here he stood, offering her the keys to a future she wasn't sure she wanted. "Josh, it's been years." Her voice was barely a whisper, like a fragile thread tugged at the seams of her thoughts. "I know. But I've been watching Miller's Corner struggle, and I believe we can infuse it with energy, life," he said, his enthusiasm like an ember threatening to spark a fire. "I have ideas, great ideas that could transform it into a community hub. Together, we can make it something special." Her heart raced, caught between nostalgia and fear. The memories flooded back, the warmth of old friendships, the laughter shared in the aisles of that very store. But alongside it was the tightness of her present, the uncertainty that loomed large. What about Amy? The words escaped her before she could reel them back. Josh's expression softened, and he stepped closer. This isn't just about you or me. It's about everyone in this town. It's about hope, Sarah. Let us not let fear hold us back. You have a chance to be a part of something bigger. Big plans. Those two words reverberated in Sarah's mind, a melody both enticing and terrifying. What did she know about big dreams? She had spent years nurturing small moments, keeping them alive. But what if those moments could grow? Take your time, Josh said gently. Think about it. But don't let this slip away just because it feels scary. He handed her the proposal and walked away, leaving her standing in the doorway, staring at the paper-bearing possibilities her heart ached to explore. After he left, Sarah found herself glancing toward the kitchen, where Amy was still absorbed in her sketches. A warmth filled her as she watched her daughter, so fearless and alive with ideas. Suddenly, the lines between past and future felt blurred. Would nurturing her ambitions mean losing the essence of who they were? Later that evening, they sat across from each other at the dinner table, tension settling around them like fog. Amy glanced at the proposal resting beside Sarah's plate. What was that about? Sarah took a deep breath, searching for the right words. Josh has a plan to partner on Miller's Corner. He thinks we could really make it something special. The air thickened, a palpable shift occurring. Are you considering it? Amy's voice trembled slightly, a hint of anxiety breaking through her hope. Maybe, Sarah said, feeling the weight of her own indecision. But it's not just about us. It's about this community. You know how I feel about tradition. Mom. Amy's eyes sparkled with a mix of frustration and passion. We can honor the past and build the future. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. As those words hung in the air, Sarah felt a flicker of hope in the shadows of doubt. If they could work together, if they could find a way to balance it, maybe they wouldn't lose themselves after all. The next few days were a whirlwind of discussions and planning. The community meetings felt charged with enthusiasm. People shared ideas, hopes, and dreams, painting their visions for Miller's Corner. But Sarah kept circling back to her heart. The fear of losing what they had built weighed heavier with each step forward. Each time she glanced at Amy, she saw the future she longed for and the delicate thread of trust between them. Driving to the meetings one night, Sarah noticed the for sale sign outside an abandoned bakery near Miller's Corner. A rush of adrenaline surged through her. Maybe there was a way to expand their vision, to create more than just a store. Are you thinking what I think you are? Amy's voice pierced through her daydreams. Mom, if we buy that place too, we could really do something incredible. But that spark of excitement was quickly laced with doubt. Could they take such a leap? As they stood outside the bakery, its windows clouded with dust, Sarah took a breath. A thrill mixed with fear coursed through her. What if we dream too big? She murmured. Then we dream bigger. Amy replied, bright-eyed and fierce. They stood there, one heartbeat pushing against the other, each realizing just how much was at stake. Could they marry their dreams without losing what had been? As she looked at her daughter's illuminated face, Sarah felt the weight of her choice. But sometimes, the most frightening journeys are the ones worth taking. Would this be one of those journeys? And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm light over the two of them, Sarah pondered what new doors might open if they dared to step inside. The next morning arrived with a crispness in the air that felt almost electric. Sarah awoke with the remnants of last night's conversation still swirling in her mind. Could they actually consider buying the bakery? The very thought filled her with both excitement and dread. She tiptoed into the kitchen, where the smell of coffee began to seep through the air. Amy was already there, sketchbook open, a lightness in her demeanor that contrasted sharply with Sarah's churning thoughts. Did you sleep well? Amy asked, looking up with a bright smile. Not really, Sarah admitted, pouring herself a cup of coffee. My mind wouldn't quiet down. About the bakery? Amy ventured, her eyes sparkling with mischief. It could be awesome, Mom. What if it doesn't work out? Sarah winced, setting her mug down a little too hard. What if we stretch ourselves too thin? Life is about taking risks. Amy's voice rang with youthful conviction. We can't hold on to something forever just because it's familiar. Think of all the options we could create. That familiar fear gripped Sarah again. It was easier to stick to the path she knew, but was she also stifling potential? She studied her daughter's enthusiasm, the way her eyes gleamed with possibility. In that moment, Sarah realized she was at a crossroads not just for herself, but for both of them. After breakfast, they drove to the bakery, which loomed large and desolate. As they approached the weathered building, Sarah's heart raced. The peeling paint and broken window panes told stories of both neglect and what might be reclaimed. "Let us go inside," Amy said, full of excitement. As they stepped through the threshold, the air was tinged with dust and echoes of days gone by. The room was dimly lit, but Sarah imagined it bursting with life. The laughter of children, the smell of fresh bread, conversations shared over coffee. It was a vision that made her heart swell. "Look at the layout," Amy exclaimed, her foot tapping against the floor. "We could have a cafe, a crafts area, maybe even an event space." "It would take a lot to renovate," Sarah replied, her voice trailing off. "But think of the community we'd foster," Amy countered. "People would come together. Parents, friends, all enjoying it as a place to connect." The pragmatic side of Sarah bubbled up yet again. "We need funding, support, a solid business plan." "Mom," Amy interrupted, urgency in her voice. "Sometimes you can't map everything out the moment you decide to try something. It's about believing in yourself and the community. They might surprise you." Held in that moment, the weight of uncertainty felt heavy, yet the spark of possibility flickered brightly. Suddenly, Sarah imagined a bustling hub, laughter weaving through the air like a warm blanket. She inhaled deeply, letting the idea linger. "What if we just put a proposal together?" Amy said, her eyes shimmering. "What's the worst that could happen?" And suddenly, Sarah felt the tug-of-war within her heart ease just a little. Could they really make something extraordinary? As they left the bakery, Sarah couldn't help but think about taking this leap. Amy's enthusiasm felt contagious. She glanced sideways and saw the girl she had nurtured, the young dreamer unfurling like a flower, blooming into something remarkable. But even as hope began to stir, another thought pricked at her mind. If they pursued this dream, would they be ready for the inevitable challenges? A determination began to take root in Sarah's chest. Perhaps this journey was necessary, a way to forge ahead and truly discover what lay within them. Back home that evening, Sarah found herself poring over the proposal Josh had left. Each word held the weight of possibility, and before long, she began scrawling notes and ideas. Josh's voice echoed in her ears, "Don't let this slip away," he said. The plan began to take shape, yet, as excitement surged, a question loomed larger than before. Would she have the courage to push past her fears and commit, or would the fear of failure keep them both tethered to the safety of the known? And as she stared at the paper before her, two paths lay open before her, a poised weight that could tip either way. Could hope triumph over fear? And what would that choice ultimately reveal? The night deepened, leaving Sarah with a single thought that tugged at her heart. Was she ready to dive into the depths of possibility? The next morning dawned damp and gray, reflecting the turmoil still swirling in Sarah's mind. Despite the soft sound of rain tapping against the windows, she felt a pressure building in her chest. The bakery proposal rested heavily on her thoughts. What if they failed? What if Amy's dreams of a vibrant community hub were just that, dreams? She allowed herself a brief moment of hope. She could picture it, the bakery buzzing with parents sipping coffee, children hopping between tables, laughter echoing off the walls. But the picture quickly turned fuzzy, overtaken by worry and what-ifs. Grabbing a towel, Sarah wiped down the kitchen table, her mind spinning. In the corner, Amy doodled on an oversized drawing pad, seemingly unbothered by the strife. Her vibrant sketches of cupcakes and coffee cups stood in stark contrast to Sarah's gray clouds. Hey, Mom. Can we talk about our ideas? Amy's voice cut through the silence, bright and warm. Sarah paused. Okay, what do you have in mind? I was thinking, Amy said, tapping her pencil against her chin, what if we had themed nights? Like a game night on Thursdays where families come in and play board games. And how about open mic Mondays for local musicians? Each suggestion felt like a balloon inflating in Sarah's chest, full of possibility and joy. Yet a pang of anxiety followed close behind. That sounds wonderful, but how will we manage all that? By doing this together. Amy beamed. Think of our strengths. I mean, you're amazing with ideas and plans, and I can handle social media for getting the word out. We can do it, Mom. That little spark of excitement Amy ignited was hard to resist. You're right, Sarah nodded slowly, a flicker of determination brightening her eyes. Let us outline some ideas, maybe even put together a proposal to show the community what we envision. A perfect plan. Amy clapped, jumping up from her seat. Let us make a list of all the things we need. The rain continued to patter softly outside as they delved into brainstorming. Page after page filled with vibrant possibilities, the flavors of pastries, community events, and even a small garden space out back. More than just a bakery, it turned into a vision of a welcoming hub where anyone could find something for themselves. Hours passed unnoticed until a knock on the door startled them. Sarah opened it to find Josh, looking damp but cheerful. I brought cookies. He grinned, holding up a bag, as if to banish the gray day with their warmth. Oh, wow. Thanks, Josh. Just what we needed. Sarah replied, feeling a bubble of gratitude. She motioned him inside, and as he stepped in, Amy rushed to show him their plans. Look at this. We want to turn the bakery into a community space. She exclaimed, flipping pages eagerly. Josh studied their ideas, his expression shifting from curiosity to admiration. This is incredible, you two. You've really thought this through. I think the community would love it. Hope surged within Sarah, nudged along by Josh's enthusiasm. She briefly considered the articles she had read about other local businesses struggling, but it was hard to dwell on those fears when Amy's eyes sparkled with excitement and Josh's laughter filled the room. Maybe they weren't just trying to reclaim a rundown space. Perhaps they were aiming to build something more, a living, breathing reflection of their dreams surrounded by community. But as Sarah shared more of the proposal, she suddenly felt a whisper of doubt creep back in. What if they couldn't make it work? The familiar weight of apprehension sat heavily on her chest again. Mom. Josh's voice snapped her back. What do you think? She took a deep breath, willing away the gloom. I think we have something special here. I want to do this, but what? Amy pressed. But what if we fail? What if Sarah's voice faltered? Then we learn, Josh interrupted gently, his hands resting on the table. You take risks because you believe in something. That's how you grow, right? Sudden heat washed over her. Maybe he was right. The stakes felt high, but so did the potential. As laughter erupted between Amy and Josh over the cookies, Sarah felt a raw ache of longing. What if they truly believed in this? That night, as Sarah lay in bed, her heart raced with excitement. The stakes were real. It was time to believe, truly believe, in something magical. But as her eyelids grew heavy, she also felt that gnawing fear. What if that magic never came? What if their dreams remained just dreams? With those thoughts swirling, she drifted off, leaving the question lingering like a shadow. Were they ready to embrace this leap into the unknown, together? And could they withstand whatever storms lay ahead? Morning light streamed through the slightly fogged kitchen window, warming the space, even as the memories of the previous night lingered uneasily in Sarah's mind. She glanced at Amy, who was already seated at the table, a cloud of excitement hanging around her. Spreadsheets and colorful sketches of their bakery venture sprawled across the tabletop. Ready, Mom? Amy's voice had a lilting cadence, thick with optimism. I think so, Sarah said, though uncertainty coiled in her gut. She flipped open the binder, revealing their neatly organized ideas. Let's go over this plan one more time before we present it to the community center today. With each passing minute, Amy's enthusiasm brightened her surroundings, and Sarah found herself slowly catching that spirit. What about the name? Amy suddenly asked, her eyes shimmering with mischief. We have to choose one. Right. Sarah nodded quickly. Something catchy, something that captures the essence of what we want to build. The Cozy Corner Bakery? Amy suggested, twirling a pencil between her fingers. Sarah chuckled softly, that's cute, but I want something that really speaks to the heart. Okay, how about the heart of the community? Or a place to gather? Amy's suggestions piled on, each a thread connecting them to their vision. Those are good. Let us keep brainstorming, Sarah encouraged, her pulse quickening as ideas came to life. These weren't just names. They were everything they hoped to build together, laughter shared over coffee, the sense of baked goods filling the air, but just as Sarah felt the excitement bubble, the nagging thoughts returned. What if the community didn't embrace them? What if they wanted something else entirely? The pressure of wanting to please everyone felt monumental. Amy's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. Mom, remember our goals? We've talked about it. We need to trust that people will feel what we feel. You're right, Sarah exhaled, closing her eyes for a moment. We need to be genuine. Exactly. This is our vision, not just any bakery. It represents us. Amy insisted, her expressive face lighting up again. Just then, another knock interrupted them once more. It was Josh, holding a thermos of steaming coffee and a bag filled with pastries. Thought you might need some fuel before big presentations. Josh, you're a lifesaver. Sarah exclaimed, accepting the offerings with gratitude. As they settled into a cozy circle, Josh offered suggestions too, throwing in ideas about the layout of the shop and the types of events they could host. For a while, the room filled with laughter, hope, and an infectious energy that chased away Sarah's lingering doubts, but just as they bounced back and forth, an unexpected silence fell. Sarah caught Josh looking at her, an expression on his face that danced between admiration and concern. Are you okay, Sarah? You seem a bit distant. With her heart pounding, Sarah realized she had been lost in her thoughts again. I want this to succeed. I want this more than anything. The vulnerability in her voice hung in the air. I know it's terrifying, Josh replied softly, but remember that this journey is just as important as the destination. You're building memories, not just a business. Tears pricked the corners of Sarah's eyes. She had spent so long worrying about the end goal that she had nearly lost sight of why they started in the first place. Okay, she said, her voice steadying, let us pull together everything we've got. They finished their pastries and coffee, their spirits revitalized. As the time drew closer for their meeting, Sarah felt a newfound strength. She squeezed Amy's hand and shot Josh a grateful smile. Maybe this was more about each other than every fear that came knocking. As they stepped out of the house, ready to present their dreams to the world, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what would happen when they opened the doors to that community hub. Would it be a success? Or would it lead to unexpected challenges? The journey was unfolding, and as they approached the community center, her heartbeat raced with both excitement and fear. But one thing was for sure, they were about to dive into something big. And she had no idea how it would reshape all their lives. Are we ready for this? She thought, taking in a deep breath. Then she whispered, here goes everything. Ahead lay the unknown, but what awaited them on the other side could change everything. Would they be able to fully embrace the ride? What would the community think? As they reached the front of the community center, a surge of energy washed over Sarah. The building loomed ahead, its walls a mix of vibrant colors, welcoming like a warm embrace. She could already hear the chatter of families and friends gathering inside, an encouraging hum that sent butterflies dancing in her stomach. Okay, so here's the plan, Amy whispered, pulling out the binder and flipping through the pages, a familiar spark of excitement returning. We introduce ourselves, share our vision, and invite everyone to join us in this journey. Right, Sarah nodded, her resolve solidifying with every word. We'll talk about how important community is to us, how we want to create a space where everyone feels at home. Josh stepped beside them, a comforting presence. Just remember, no matter how it goes, you've already accomplished so much. This is just the beginning. The doors swung open, revealing a vibrant room filled with colorful posters and familiar faces. Neighbors greeted one another, laughter mingling with the rich scent of coffee and fresh pastries. It was all so reassuring, a reminder that they belonged here. They made their way toward an empty table shrouded in glimmers of anticipation. Sarah could see familiar faces in the crowd, the friendly barista from the coffee shop, the elderly couple who lived down the street, and even the school principal, all gathering for the same reason: to build bonds, to support one another. "Look, there's Mr. Henderson," Amy exclaimed, pointing to a local baker renowned for his skills. "He might have some great ideas." Sarah felt a rush of courage. "Let us go talk to him first." As they approached, Mr. Henderson looked up, his face breaking into a warm smile. "What brings you ladies here today?" he asked, his curiosity genuine. "We want to start a bakery, a community bakery, actually," Sarah shared, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter inside her. "A community bakery? That's wonderful," he said, nodding enthusiastically. "I'd love to hear more about your vision." As Sarah spoke about their dreams, she noticed Josh subtly gesture to Amy, who was hopeful and animated, her eyes glowing with pride. They weren't just selling pastries, they were offering a place for connection, joy, and unity. The more Sarah talked, the more she could feel the room leaning in, people nodding, whispering encouragement to one another. It made her believe that maybe, just maybe, they could create something special together. Time slipped away as she and Amy engaged with other attendees, sharing ideas and listening to stories of past community gatherings. There was laughter, some heartfelt sentiments about missed opportunities, and hope rekindled. Suddenly, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. Turning, she found herself facing Amanda, a neighbor from the next street over, her face a mix of disbelief and excitement. "I was just telling my husband about your idea. We've been waiting for something like this." Surprised, Sarah felt warmth spread through her chest. "Really? You'd be interested in joining us?" "Oh, absolutely," Amanda replied. "We want to be part of something that brings people together." As conversations swirled around her, Sarah's heart swelled. The community was alive with energy and ideas, and this was beginning to feel like a homegrown revolution, one that didn't just rely on her vision alone, but rather built upon countless others. Just as Sarah thought she could finally breathe a sigh of relief, a loud commotion drew her attention. A group of teenagers rushed toward them, excitement radiating from their voices. "We heard there's going to be a bakery here," one shouted. "Can we help?" A wave of emotion hit her. This was it. The dream they had conjured together was starting to manifest into something vibrant and real, a pulsing heart beating within their community. Yet, as thoughts of joy surged within her, a flicker of doubt pulled at the edges. What if they committed to something that unexpectedly unraveled? With the noise of the gathering echoing in her ears, she glanced at Josh and Amy. What should they do? Could this excitement turn overwhelming? Let us embrace the moment, she thought, echoing the sentiment she had felt earlier. But as Sarah took a deep breath, ready to plunge deeper into this shared dream, she caught sight of someone standing slightly apart from the crowd. A familiar face she hadn't seen in years, someone who might change everything she thought she knew about starting anew. "What does this mean?" she whispered, heart racing again. A new wave of uncertainty washed over her. Sarah's eyes locked onto the figure, and her heart plunged. It was Mark, her childhood friend and first crush, the one who had vanished from her life like a shadow, leaving behind unanswered questions and a lingering ache. He had moved away just before their senior year, and as life swept them into different currents, they had lost touch completely. That he stood there, hands shoved deep in his pockets, looking both out of place and curiously drawn to the lively chaos, as though he were considering stepping into a world he thought he'd left behind. "Is that?" Amy whispered, following Sarah's gaze. A ripple of surprise danced through her voice. "Yeah," Sarah breathed, trying to process the wave of emotions crashing over her. "That's Mark. What's he doing here?" Josh tilted his head, concern edging into his question. Sarah didn't have the answer. She felt her heart pounding, memories flashing back, inside jokes, shared laughter, the gentle warmth of his hand brushing against hers as they explored the town. Would he recall all those moments? Did he remember the dreams they once shared? Taking a moment to gather herself, she stepped forward as if propelled by an invisible thread. "Hey, Mark." Her voice wavered slightly, an errant note in the symphony of chatter. He turned, his surprised expression shifting to a smile that lit up his face. "Sarah. It's been a long time." "Yeah, it has." She swallowed hard, excitement mixed with a swirl of nerves. "What brings you back?" "I heard about the community gathering and thought I'd check it out." "I didn't realize it would be so vibrant." He looked around, then met her gaze again with a spark of curiosity. "What are you planning?" With a growing sense of eagerness, Sarah invited him to sit at their table. "We're starting a community bakery. It's about bringing everyone together, creating a space where all of us can share in something special." Mark nodded, his eyes brightening. "That sounds amazing. I've always believed in community spirit. What can I do to help?" The question hung in the air, and Sarah's chest fluttered, as if they were back on that school playground, making plans with all the boldness of youth. The future felt swift and open, ripe with promise. We need all kinds of ideas and hands," Sarah said, momentarily flustered. "Crafting a menu, setting everything up, even marketing. You could totally be part of it." His smile grew, and for a second, it almost felt like old times. Laughter and chatter faded, leaving a soothing silence between them. Yet, underneath the cheerful banter and bubbly excitement, Sarah's heart skipped a beat with uncertainty. Could reconnecting with Mark lead to complications? Would the past rear its head right when she was starting to build a future? "Sarah, are you okay?" Amy's voice cut through her thoughts, filled with concern. "Yeah, she paused, glancing back at Mark, who sat eagerly chatting with Josh. Her mind raced. "I don't know what this means yet." Just then, the room buzzed with more energy as more people joined them at the table, readying themselves to contribute to the bakery. Each face was filled with enthusiasm, but the shadow of her doubt loomed larger than before. What had started as a simple dream was now intertwined with people from her past, and she couldn't escape the feeling that this was a turning point, a moment that could either propel them forward or send them tumbling back into uncharted waters. As she took a deep breath, Sarah felt a new layer of excitement mingle with her worries. Could they truly create a place where the past and future blended seamlessly? And as if on cue, someone stepped into the circle again, catching her eye. She recognized another familiar face, her old high school rival, someone she had tangled with over the years. Could this gathering possibly bring together all these threads of her life into something beautiful? "Sarah, what's next?" Josh's question broke through her thoughts. She focused on her friends, on this collective dream. "Let us find out," she said, determination flooding her voice. But beneath that resolve, doubt whispered again. What if all this changes everything? With anticipation thick in the air, she faced the challenge head-on, but a lingering sense of what-ifs clawed at her mind. What if the past wasn't as distant as she thought? The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow through the window, illuminating the table filled with smiling faces and earnest conversations. As people gathered closer, Sarah felt the weight of her past merging dangerously with her present. Mark's laughter reached her ears like a siren call, pulling her deeper into memories she thought were buried. "Are you okay?" Amy whispered again, her brow furrowed in concern. "Yeah, I'm fine," Sarah replied, too quickly. She admired the way Mark animatedly talked with Josh, his hands flying as he shared stories about his adventures since leaving. Was he just as happy to be back, or was he playing a part, carefully crafted to fit the present? As more people arrived, their energy swelled, excitement buzzing like electricity. Each beaming face became a reminder of the community Sarah longed to nurture. Still, it felt precarious balancing on a tightrope strung between past heartbreak and future hope. "Sarah, you should come see this," Amy called out, gesturing to the bustling kitchen corner. Sarah trailed behind, her heart racing. As she turned the corner, her eyes caught sight of an old friend from high school, Ellen. Her heart sank a mixture of dread and nostalgia. "Ellen," Sarah said, forcing a smile, "it's been a while." "Hey, Sarah." Ellen greeted, a little too brightly for Sarah's taste. "I heard you're starting a bakery." "How quaint." Her tone dripped with condescension, nudging old rivalries to the surface. Memories of petty competition surfaced: baking contests, school plays, and endless comparisons. Sarah's heart raced. She could practically hear her own insecurities echoing back at her. "It's actually about community," Sarah managed, her voice steady despite the unease gripping her. "Bringing people together, sharing good food, connecting over a shared dream." Ellen raised an eyebrow, a smirk creeping across her face. "I can't wait to see how that turns out." Hopefully, it won't crash and burn. There it was, the bite, the challenge, just like old times. Sarah's resolve momentarily faltered. Did she even have the strength to pull this off while navigating the minefield of her past? "Hey, everyone." Mark's voice broke through the tension, filled with enthusiasm. "I've got an idea for the menu. What if we did a community recipe contest? Everyone could bring in their family dishes. We could highlight local flavors and cultural stories." His words hung in the air, a breath of fresh hope. The room erupted into chatter, everyone buzzing with excitement at the thought of combining their traditions and memories into something meaningful. Sarah felt a spark of inspiration ignite deep within her. Maybe Mark's presence was exactly what she needed, not just for the bakery, but to confront her fears head-on. If they were all going to work together, she'd have to face the weight of their shared history, too. "Count me in," she said, surprising herself with her boldness. "I'll help organize the contest. Let's South make this place a tapestry of flavors and stories." A collective cheer filled the space, and Sarah met Mark's gaze, the pride in his eyes making her heart flutter. What if this was their moment, not just for the bakery but for their friendship? Yet, as excitement took over, another worry bloomed. What if I can't measure up to everyone's expectations? With mingled determination and trepidation, Sarah plunged ahead into planning the contest, marking the beginning of what could be a beautiful venture. But somewhere in the back of her mind, the question loomed large: would they really unite their diverse histories, or would hidden resentments pull them apart again? As the group organized their thoughts, Sarah caught a glimpse of Ellen whispering to another acquaintance, her gaze flicking toward Sarah. The familiar knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. "Sarah?" Mark's voice broke through, pulling her back to focus. "Are you okay?" She nodded, swallowing the surge of unease. "Yes, just thinking about the next steps." And as they returned to the planning, Sarah's heart beat wildly, both for the project ahead and the complicated emotions that swirled in tandem. How would they face the revelations that were yet to come? The challenge before them was monumental, but in that moment of laughter and collaboration, she felt one thing for certain: she was ready to uncover whatever awaited her. But somewhere in the depths of her heart, she wondered, was this truly a new beginning, or just the calm before a storm of unresolved truths? As the day wore on, the bustling energy within the community center continued to grow, wrapping Sarah in a comforting embrace of hope. The laughter and chatter murmured around her like a warm melody as people moved about, eager to contribute their ideas to the growing dream of the bakery. With Mark and Amy by her side, Sarah felt fortitude spark anew. There was something about sharing their passion that made the worries seem manageable. Okay, let us focus on the story behind the bakery, Sarah announced, gathering everyone's attention. Vibrant sketches and colorful notes surrounded them, and she felt their collective energy stir with anticipation. This isn't just about cakes and bread. It's about our lives, our stories, creating a space where anyone can find a piece of home. Exactly. Mark chimed in, his smile infectious. Let us highlight recipes passed down through generations, turn their meals into a celebration. It's personal, and everyone can relate to that. The crowd erupted into approving murmurs, eyes lighting up with excitement. Each idea bounced off the walls, escalating into a beautiful chaos, the very type of connection Sarah had always dreamed of cultivating. As the discussions flowed freely, Sarah began scribbling notes, feeling the pulse of the room transform into something extraordinary. Every suggestion was cherished, every story shared added layers to the vision of the bakery. But in the back of her mind, Ellen's snide remarks lingered like shadows. Would they be enough to hold this dream together, or were they shackled by doubt? She met Amy's gaze across the table. How are we doing so far? Sarah asked, half smiling. Her daughter was practically glowing, fingers working furiously to sketch new ideas. This is amazing! Amy exclaimed, her enthusiasm bursting through. And just think of the people who will come through those doors to be together. Let us condition the rich flavor of belonging, Mark said, voice bubbling with inspiration. We can host cultural nights that feature stories with recipes. Share the histories of our community. Count me in. Someone shouted from the back, their voice full of conviction. I'll bring my grandmother's famous pie recipe. Chatter erupted again as hands shot up. The room swelled with ambitious ideas, and Sarah breathed deeply. This was what she longed for, a place where everyone felt valued. Yet beneath the surface, doubt continued to flutter. Later, as the meeting began to wind down, Sarah felt energized but also drained. The warmth by her side, Amy's sparkle, and the sense of community enveloped her like a cozy blanket, but the tension in her mind hadn't eased. She stepped outside for a breath of air, the cool evening wind brushing against her face. Then she was not alone. Mark approached quietly, a warm expression crossing his face. You really lit that room up in there, Sarah. Everyone can feel your heart in this. Thanks, Mark, she whispered, glancing down to hide her sudden vulnerability. But what if I can't keep this alive? I mean, what if? Look, he said gently, stepping closer. It's okay to be scared. But bravery is facing that fear. Lean into the energy you feel around you. That's what community is, for courage in numbers, he reassured, punctuating his words with a tender smile. The sincerity in his words ignited something within her. She met his gaze, forcing herself to stay present. You're right, she admitted, her heart fluttering. Maybe we can build something together, all of us. With renewed purpose, they walked back inside to find Amy animated with excited chatter. Mom! Guess what? Ellen wants to join our planning committee. Her voice was tinged with glee, yet Sarah felt a bolt of surprise clench her stomach. But she couldn't let fear overshadow the moment. That's great, she said, while glancing sideways at Mark. Would this lead to more challenges? But why not take on obstacles together? Hours later, after the sun set and the community center emptied, Sarah stood beside the now dimming glow of a lamp, flipping through their notes. There was something electric in the air, a promise of what was yet to come. But she suddenly wanted to connect with her past, so she turned to Mark, sitting across from her, sketching ideas on the back of a napkin. What was it like leaving? She asked softly, unsure why the question felt heavy. He hesitated, glancing up with a mixture of nostalgia and something unnameable. It was hard. I always thought about home, but I needed to roam to figure out who I was. Did it help? Absolutely. It gave me clarity. I came back because I wanted to contribute, especially after hearing about the bakery. It means something to me. We can create together. His words resonated deep within her. It was a powerful reminder that no matter how uncertain things felt, history could play a role in building hope. "Let us do this," she proclaimed, standing taller. "We'll integrate past stories and moments. Together, we can make a tapestry of flavors and bonds that weave everything and everyone together." As a full moon rose high in the sky, illuminating the outlines of Sunflower Ridge, Sarah could sense the pulse of the community thrum with possibility. She realized it was time. Their dreams of Miller's Corner would breathe and grow, not just from her aspirations but from every member's heart. The metamorphosis of the bakery was well underway, and with each step taken, she and her beloved ones would continue to uncover their intertwined destinies. She felt strong, buoyed by support, and grateful for the friends who stood beside her, even those who once felt distant. The heart of Sunflower Ridge was coming alive again, filled with laughter, stories, and collaboration. And as she stood there smiling at Amy and Mark, she felt hope draping around her like a warm quilt, woven from all their shared experiences. In that instant, she knew, home wasn't merely a place but a feeling, and they were building it anew to conquer anything and everything together. To all those who have been on this journey with us, now is the moment. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss our next exclusive stories that continue this adventure. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Let us keep this community alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voices matter, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can inspire more hearts and foster more connections.